Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hi friends, and welcome back to the Teaching Autism and Special Education podcast. I'm Nikki, your host, and you may also know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. Have you ever had a student who can flip the entire room in under 30 seconds? Everything is calm, you're mid-lesson, and suddenly they shout, they knock something over, they run, they start a loud argument, they escalate something small into something huge, and now the whole classroom energy has shifted. All eyes are on them. Everything has stopped, and you're thinking, why create chaos when things were fine? And today we are talking about when students control the environment through chaos. And I want to gently say this. Sometimes chaos is about power, but not in the way that we assume. Today, we're going to unpack a behaviour pattern that can feel incredibly frustrating. When a student repeatedly disrupts the environment in a way that shifts control back to them, it can look and feel deliberate. It can look and feel strategic even. But very often, it's about nervous system regulation and predictability, not about being difficult. So let's break this down. First up, control is about safety. All humans need some sense of control. Predictability helps the nervous system to feel safe. And when a student feels overwhelmed or confused, overstimulated, or anxious, they may experience a loss of control internally. And that feels terrifying. So, what do some nervous systems do? They regain control externally. If I can change the room, if I can shift the focus, if I can create disruption, then I am no longer the vulnerable one. Chaos becomes regulating because at least now I'm driving and deciding what happens next. So what this might look like in the classroom is, you may see a student escalating right before a transition, a student starting arguments during group work, a student knocking materials over during a difficult task, a student making loud noises when the room feels unpredictable, a student who pushes buttons the second things feel emotionally intense. And the pattern might be consistent. Right before something hard, right when expectations increase, right when attention shifts, that chaos has become a shield. And while attention can reinforce chaos, attention seeking is not always the root function. Sometimes the function is avoidance of overwhelm, of uncertainty, of vulnerability, of perceived failure, and reclaiming that power. If I create the disruption, I don't have to sit in the discomfort. And that is very different from I just want attention. Now, I want to touch briefly on the nervous system layer because when the brain perceives a threat, even a very subtle threat, the stress response activates. And what that does is the student is then going to feel, I don't understand this. I might fail. This feels unpredictable. This doesn't feel safe. I don't like this sensory input. I don't feel heard. And their body is going to move into that fight or flight response. Now, fight can look like chaos. It's loud, it's disruptive, it's powerful. And for a nervous system that feels small or out of control, power can feel very regulating. Now, sometimes adults will say they know exactly what they're doing And sometimes escalation can feel intentional. But here's the thing. Yes, the behavior may be strategic in pattern, but that does not mean it's emotionally calculated. A student can learn that chaos resets the room, but that learning often came from trial and error during dysregulation. It is not villain behavior, it is survival learning. So when chaos erupts, our instinct is often to raise the voice, demand compliance, public correction, get into a power struggle. But if the root function is control and safety, then a power struggle is going to escalate that threat, and that threat is going to increase chaos. And now the student has even more reason to fight. So I like to give you some helpful things and some things you can take away and put into practice. So some things that you can do. One, I want you to stay boringly calm. Lower tone, slow movements, predictable language, because chaos feeds off intensity, whereas calm starves it. I want you to reduce the audience where possible. If safe, shift all the peers away rather than spotlighting the student. I want you to reintroduce structure. We're moving to this space. Here's what happens next, because that predictability is going to reduce the need to seize control. I want you to offer very limited directed choices. You can sit here or here. You can start with this or this. Choice will restore autonomy safely. And then I want you to pre-plan vulnerable moments. If transitions are triggers, I want you to build in clear countdowns and micro breaks. And then I want you to repair later. When calm, gently reflect. That got big really fast. Let's figure out what felt hard. Skill building happens in safety. Now, the bigger picture, students who control environments through chaos are often students who feel powerless in other ways. Maybe it's academically, maybe it's socially, maybe sensorily or emotionally. If we only focus on stopping the chaos without addressing the power imbalance underneath, then that pattern is going to continue. But when we increase autonomy and clarity and regulation support, the need for that chaos decreases. So if you have a student who can flip your entire room upside down, you are not failing and they are not evil. They are communicating something really loud because quieter methods haven't worked for them yet. And when you respond with that steady calm, instead of matching how intense they are, what you're doing is modeling nervous system regulation. And that is what's going to help to co-regulate their nervous system as well. So a question that I get asked quite often when I present on these topics is, why do some students control the environment through chaos? And to put it plainly, it's just because that chaos can feel powerful and power can feel safe. And the nervous system, the top priority of the nervous system is safety. So next time when this happens, instead of thinking to yourself, how do I shut this down fast? I want you to take a step back and look at the whole situation and question, what fell out of control for that student, and then change your response, because your response is what's going to change the outcome. All right, friends, I hope you were able to take away a bunch of information from this podcast episode today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.